Hey guys, Mustached Tom here to review the movie Transformers 1. Now, I've seen the trailer for this about twice or three times, and the movie, at least from the trailer, did promote itself on the more comedic side. Though, I do want to point out that all of those bits, I feel like they could have easily been cut out of the movie. As I do think that outside of those attempts at comedy, I actually think this movie isn't that bad, honestly. And with that, I will go over everything in order as objectively as possible. With that being said, we get into some good old-fashioned Primus lore about how this world has come to be, about Energon and this Matrix, our MacGuffin for the movie, being our power source, and we are met up with our main character, currently named Oron Pax, and later on, D6. So Oron, or I'll just call Pax for short, is currently looking for intel on where this Matrix is. He gets that lore dump, but it falls flat and he is then given chase, in which he gets all the way outside through this train in a pretty decently long chase, where D bumps into the bots chasing him. He's already hidden in the bin that D6 is holding, and we learn that these two are already friends, and that he was covering for him in hiding him in this location. We then meet Sentinel Prime, who is currently, as far as we know, looking for the Matrix. And I'll say spoiler alert now, because things are going to happen in this movie, I guess, that are actually, pretty typical, but just figured just in case anyone didn't want spoilers, despite this movie's outward trailers being a little bit meh. So, it is here where Pax gives D6 the decal of the as we'll come to see later on, the Decepticons. He's given it on the shoulder at this point in time. But, nonetheless, they're joined by Captain Alina, who they work for her, under her mining. She's like the lead. So, they're miners, and they hit upon something that surges out toward this power source or whatever, and they barely get out. And due to this struggle, Alita is the one who gets fired, even though Pax is the one that initiated that and then tried to save people who were almost, brutally put offline, I guess I'll put it that way. So, the two of them get knocked out. Or, they get, D6 tries to knock him out to, play it off, on this, bot that's, looking over them. I forget his name. I didn't write it in my notes. But we see that Sentinel sends a new message to his hometown, saying that he has not found the Matrix, but to have no fear that this Econ 5000 event is going to be underway, which is like a racing event, essentially. And nobody has to work on that day specifically. And he is the one who initially drops the line more than meets the eye. So of course they're going to work in the all of the catchphrases known to Transformers to try to build up all of those things. So, Pax wants to compete, D6 simply wants to work, and we have our conflicting personalities between the two. And we know that they currently can't transform, as well as other mining bots can't transform currently. So, Sentinel is the one that derives the race, or the starting of the race. All the while, Pax takes D6 aside to, see the race from a better view, though it is also, a drop point to enter the race on their own accord. And thus they get dropped into the race as soon as it starts. And everyone is caught off guard by this, surprise that these simple miners are trying to compete in this transforming competitive race. And during their attempt, they do manage to at least briefly get first. However, right before they cross the finish line, they are passed by a bot named Chromia, then passed by, virtually everyone else. In which D16 thinks that they're gonna be put into the deepest of troubles, and Pax is like, oh geez, oh no. But Mr. Sentinel says, you know what, that was cool. You'll be rewarded. So he heads out. However, the bot that in the race, the one I neglected to name, I wrote his name later here, Darkwing, decides to take matters into his own hands and toss both of them into this trash compactor area, where they meet Bumblebee, or as we'll come to learn, or just B at the time, B27, whatever his number is. So, B shows that he has been alone for quite some time, showing off these other not alive bots, one named Steve, that has this map. Thus, once again, Pax is the one most eager to check out where this map leads. So, with the help of B, the two of them get out. And thus, they get upon a train, also meeting Alita there. Now, chasing her as she tries to rat them out for even trying to interfere. However, she is far too late. By the time they even are all awares, they are already at the surface. So now it's the four of them in the surface, where these wild spikes grow and the environment itself seems to be its own type of danger. And this is their first attempt, I guess, outside of B being alone and awkward, talking to Alita, being about oh, my name is B or whatever, and then using an alt name. Just, I didn't even write it down, to be honest. But they see some robo-deers in the distance moving about oddly, so they head in the same direction. And then they avoid trying to be scanned by this probe that is looking upon their area. Thus, they head inside this cave. And it also happens that D16 finds Megatronius Prime. Interesting name, I will point that out, obviously. But the Matrix thing that they are looking for is gone. However, there was one prime that was remaining, so they wake up that prime. He informs them how Sentinel Prime is not a prime at all. In fact, he is currently on the verge of selling them out, as a war is also being brought back to them, or rather negotiations of softballing their stuff while while the miners are toiled away at their work. Sentinel gets to be at the 1%. You could compare that to current politics, I suppose. Someone who would sell us out. I've heard that line in a debate recently. So, you know, I'm just gonna raise my hands at that and say, interesting. Anyway, so we see that they're shipmenting to these quintons, I believe they're called, these like four-legged bots, their energy that they have been busy mining, but they need more to make their deal official, as it were. But our group of four sees all of this deal go down. And of course, now we have our new separation. D16 full-on wants to kill Sentinel Prime, whereas Pax simply wants to just tell everyone, hey, this is what's really going on, and see if that will work. In the process of this Prime, this last one, giving them this intel, he provides the four of them new cogs. But he goes on to say about how their own spark is their core, being the big thing about this movie. And that these transformations are cool and all, but that is only the additive power. It is what you do, aka the spark, as it were, that gives you that true ability, as it were. Makes you you, or whatever. So, Pax is the one who was initially given all of the intel to break out to all the other bots about this deal going down. But his location is being found, so he decides to hold off, and we even see him turn into one of the Beast Transformers, which indicates, I guess, that the Beast Transformers are some of the OG Transformers. I think that was established in other Transformers lore before as well. Anyway, they get attacked, the four of them as well, in trying to flee. So they're fleeing and trying their best to figure out how to transform on the fly here. And once they get a break from this and fleeing, D6 is the one that takes the intel. And unfortunately, the Sentinel Prime is the one that kills that last Prime. But before long, the four of them get hit and knocked out and moved to a new location, where they meet Starscream, a very, very interesting character, all things considered. And D6 wants to fight to show that he means business, while Pax wants to again be, more diplomatic, or as diplomatic as one can be in these trying times. But D is the one who ends up fighting Starscream here, and shows him mercy. So the crew chant him on, as he sort of takes this new leadership role. So, they get missile struck not too late after their location once again being discovered, which is the second time that this happened, so I do wish that there was a little bit more build-up onto how they keep getting discovered, but whatever. Anywho, Pax and B fight together, but in the process of all manner of getting fought out and splitting up, D16 and B are the ones that are taken, and their proof to boot is all gone. In this, Pax is downed, so Alita gives him a prep talk saying that while she is better overall, that he is still the one that initiated these unique ideas and whatnot. So, with this new ragtag group of Shockwave and Soundwave, and alongside, among others, this is the first time where he tells his new crew to roll out, his very famous line, as it were. So, D6 is captured, as I mentioned, stands up before Sentinel instead of kneeling, which is what he's trying to get everyone else to do. So Sentinel punishes him by forcing his decal into his center, which is where, well, Megatron's decal is, I believe, of the Decepticons, if I'm not mistaken. So, it was moved there and burned into his chest. All the while, Pax gets to his squad, the other miners that are still working, and he tells them the truth about how they can be their own spark and whatnot. He kind of reiterates what the previous Prime had told him. And they begin to initiate attack with the assist of Alita and her squad, because she's like a little separated, to do a joint attack on Sentinel here. Thus, before D is taken out, in Defiance once again standing up, the fight begins, and the prisoners are break freed. D6 goes after Sentinel on his own. Alita pulls back this spider-looking Transformer. I forget what her name is specifically. But I digress. So, the Prime gets the video from her, because the Spider Lady recorded their entire deal, and plays this video for the entire town. But D6 is not satisfied with everyone just simply knowing. He wants to kill Sentinel still, despite everyone else knowing. So Pax stops him, and thus D confronts him. So they fight for a bit. Pax is tossed aside, and he aims back at Sentinel, ready to kill him once and for all. He fires his shot, and Pax gets in the way, taking the blast directly to his center. So he's shunted down. I guess technically dies, temporarily anyway. And this was the first time where D's eyes turned red, because they were yellow beforehand. So, as his first act, D rips Sentinel in half, and takes the core that was taken from Megatronus Prime, or whatever Prime, yeah, that one. Meanwhile, Pax gets shunted into, I guess, the middle of the world, or whatever. So, D takes the new chip from Sentinel and decides to become Megatron officially, as Pax is also given a new core, the Matrix core, and is dubbed, as we all now know him, Optimus Prime. So the two are reborn in their newfound forms, and Prime makes his way back up to Megatron, and the two fight it out once more. Prime has to fight off some other followers, but nonetheless, Prime is the end victor, obviously, and banishes Megatron and his followers, because there are still some loyal to Megatron. So now Prime sees that Megatron is no different than Sentinel in the way that he decided to continue his attack after the fact, and would have caused even further damage in doing so. And then Prime goes on his dialogue about how some transformations, such as Megatron in his reference, are permanent, meaning that Megatron cannot be redeemed at this point. He's made his decision, as it were. And it's only after this, where Megatron is banished, where we finally see how the two met up the first time as simple miners. And we see that back through the perspective of Optimus Prime. So, he commands up Alita and offers B a job as well, and offers them the name as well as all the bots that he gives new cores to as the Autobots. And as we'll learn, or as we move ahead, the others, including Megatron, who all left for him, would go to be Decepticons, I guess. Which is a bit, he did follow in Sentinel, despite being hating on the way of deception all throughout that movie. So, the name's a little bit not earned yet. But hey, they weren't called Decepticons by the end of the movie, so maybe something else can happen. After all, this is simply Transformers 1, so maybe if this movie is successful, maybe there will be a follow-up and we'll learn why the Decepticons get that name specifically. And how we can see how Megatron gets the Starscream under him and all these other Decepticons that I'm all too familiar with. But as far as that movie is concerned, I think it's actually not that bad, despite what the trailer, again, the initial trailer showed. I would definitely check it out. I'd probably give it like a 6 out of 10 still, low. I feel like they could have played it a little bit more serious, honestly. I don't know why they felt the need to push as comedic. I guess they were trying to be a little bit more family-oriented, despite all the crazy destruction. I don't know. Though I would argue that most of that is technically relegated to B, and he is more so the comic relief character, even outside of this movie. So, again, that does kind of fit to a degree. Though I will argue that I wish that the shift, because it is present. There is a shift in D6, obviously, but it does seem to just come in both sequences when he just happens to take a new core, which, again, I think kind of betrays the idea of this whole idea about, like, the spark or whatever. I do feel like there could have been even earlier, like, sentiments about, like, because he's very, like, in the cog, or he's like a cog in the machine. That's his whole ordeal throughout the beginning of the movie, and he just continues wanting to be that cog in the machine despite after learning everything. He gets upset that he no longer gets to just be in that lot, that something has to change. And I feel like even early as that could have been his first real shift before even getting the core thing. Because I do feel like the way that it presents itself here is that it's almost like the core is making him change, not the events that are taking place are changing his outlook, which is, I feel like, is stronger writing when there's cause and effect, right? Rather than this MacGuffin being shifting your personality, which is what it feels more like is happening here, at least in this movie, for Megatron, that being. Outside of that issue I have with the movie, I would still say it's still overall pretty good, as I mentioned. So still a 6 out of 10. And that's my review of Transformers 1. And if you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One, I'll head over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers. Second, to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly. And third, to my Discord server, you can join, collab, shield, do all that cool stuff for free. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.